Well, for those that don't know, we've been back in Indiana for a couple of weeks, and so yeah, this typical Indiana scenery here. So I'm getting ready to update you on my next project here. Kind of the same old project, but upgrading. So I will open this door and we'll show you. Okay. So now the door is open, and see all these cables on the battery. They have served well enough, but they are not, I guess, the proper size. So I will be replacing those 1/aught cables with 4/aught cables. So we'll get more efficient energy transfer and all that fun stuff. And maybe won't start a fire if we get too much current going. That's always a good thing. Anyway, and so I'm gonna replace those. So you see what it looks like now, and by editing magic, here's the outcome. And like I said, through the magic of video, you can see the cables have all been replaced. Some big cables. It's a little harder to work with. Had to move a few things around. But there we are. As an example, there you go. There's the 1/aught cable right here, right next to the 4/aught cable. I'm going to put it next to the red one. It's easier to see. Yeah. So there we go. Should charge better and run power longer. So that's the project for the day. All right, we're back again, and it's been brought to my attention that some people might want to know how to build these cables just like this. Well, it's really not that much rocket science. You measure the cable length you want. You take a cable cutter like these and cut them. There's that. And then the next thing is to figure out how far you want to strip it. And for me, it's about 3/4 of an inch for these connectors. Okay. So in a second, I'm going to go ahead and strip that. But once these are crimped on like this, you slide that over, the heat shrink over, and then you can take your heat gun and shrink it down. That's the process. So here we go. Okay, so I'm using my pocket knife to do this, but you can use, if you're good with those cable cutters, you could use those. There are specific cable strippers you can use that will probably work better than this, but if you can go by feel when you do this and not cut or nick any of the strands of copper in here, that's really important for the current carrying capacity. Okay, so now that I've cut through the insulation, you can see the copper through there, and I just got to work it back and forth until the rest of it breaks, and there we have the copper that we're concerned with. And this lug, just carefully, so you don't bend any of the strands, just slides right over. And whatever crimpers you've got, these have turned out to be pretty good. Not sponsored on any of this. This is all my own purchases. But yeah, you just hold it in there. Before you do this, you make sure it's in the proper orientation, which this is, so I'm going to go ahead and crimp it down while holding the cable in place. And that's what you do. You give it a good tuck test. It's not going anywhere. And that's how you build each end of the cable. And I will go through and get the rest of these done. Of course, we start videoing and the campground crew are driving their four-wheeler around. Anyway, and we got a panting dog too. She just came in from a walk. In any case, as you can see here, I got the first 6 cables ready for heat shrink. So I was just wanting to show real quick, you know, how that goes. Take your heat gun, turn it on. It's going to get a little noisy. And now, after it heats up, you can see the heat shrink itself actually do what it says, shrink with the heat. You want to get it shrunk evenly all the way around. You don't want any gaps. And this, I don't know if you can see in the video, right at the edge, this particular kind of heat shrink has an adhesive in there to help it with waterproofness. So in some, I don't know, right there I can see it glistening. It may not come out on the video, but in any case, that's all shrunk down nice. And so that end of this cable is done. I can move on to the next end. And so on for the rest of the cables. And there you have what it takes to make these cables. Okay, now the first 6 cables are done. Now, I came outside to do this because it's a little quieter. You might hear some birds in the background. But I should have demonstrated on the heat shrink on the red ones first, because there you can see right there that gel, that's the glue that aids in waterproofness, to keep water out of the joint that's been crimped on there. So yeah, that's the first 6 cables, and I believe I've got like 5 more of various lengths to do. These were easy because they were all the same length. But yep, that's how it's done.